Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bybit's Crypto Arc, sailing into the future of financial freedom. Now, I'm Nathan Thompson. I'm Bybit's lead tech writer, and we're here today to talk about the Bitcoin halving, where the market's going, options, derivatives, all that incredible stuff that we're building here on the frontier of finance. Now, I'm here with a very esteemed panel. To my left, I'd like to introduce Lennox Lai. He's the Chief Commercial Officer of OKX, 15 years experience in the market. And one of OKX's original employees?
Oh, no. First batch.
First batch.
Yeah.
How many was in the first batch?
We got 100 back then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they've just been like sailing up and on the up. And next up, we've got Hao Yang, Head of Global Derivatives and Financial Products on Bybit. So all you guys out there, you're trading Bybit's products, you're using like options, taking a look at some of our structured products, derivatives. This man builds that. He's the guy. Okay. And finally, we've got Willis Croft. He is the Director of Business Development at Wintermute. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Wintermute is one of the biggest market makers in crypto, right?
Correct. Yeah,
Right.
one of the biggest providers in the space.
And liquidity providers. So all you guys, you know, you're out there trading and you need some liquidity. People are making those markets. That's your Wintermute right there. And it's also a great name, I've got to say. Like, I just like Wintermute. It's kind of poetic. So also, guys, we are live and we are chatting. So you guys out there, we want to know your thoughts and we want to know like what you're thinking. So do get your comments in, like and share to help us with our promotions. And also, we've got a pop quiz. So you guys out there, you might see there's a quiz, and we've got a prize of 10,000 EMFA coins to give away to the one winner of that pop quiz. So check it out. And finally, get your questions in. These guys are here to answer your questions and illuminate you on the future of finance, crypto. We're here in Dubai. This is where it's happening. So you get your questions in. We'll try our best to answer those. And the top 5 questions will win 100 USDT each. So we'll be there and we will ask those questions towards the end of this live stream. So guys, what I'd like to do is just start off like fairly sort of like simple, and we can kick this around a little bit. So the Bitcoin halving is coming up, right? So what's your understanding of the post ETF and post halving landscape? What are the challenges and opportunities? Maybe we could start with you, Lennox.
Post ETF and post halving, I think, is very different market dynamics. So post ETF is meaning there's some completely new wave of capital and a very different kind of market participants. Post halving right now is more like a historical positive sentiment. So right now it's very close to post halving. So we're not sure what would happen. But what I want to say is we cannot rely on purely on historical factors and data. And I'm very sure that the last couple of bullish one in terms of Bitcoin halving is not the sole positive factors. You have to consider macroeconomics and a couple of years bullish one in macroeconomics.
Right, yeah, like because you hear that some people out there, they say the halving doesn't matter, right? And that's something. Where are you on that? How much do you think the halving matters in terms of price action and supply?
I think the magnitude of being a catalyst of the price of the market is actually getting less and less. And we can see. I remember like 8 or 10 years ago when Bitcoin first halving, or people actually speculating whether or not the miners was actually selling the Bitcoin post halving because the difficulty is double and you need to pay off the electricity bills. It did happen for one or two times in terms of very, very initial halving, but it's never happened afterwards. So and Bitcoin is getting more and more kind of like influenced by the open markets, and Bitcoin become like a risky other asset class.
Yeah, so you're saying sort of macro is having much more of an impact than the halving, whereas in Bitcoin's early days, the halving was more impactful.
Yeah. The
Great.
market is different.
Yeah, the market is changing. So let's, Hal, what do you think?
Well, I generally agree. I mean, post ETF means we open the floodway for the demands, especially the institutional money, the old money, traditional finance. We open the floodway for them to get in. That's the demand side. You see, we generally observed a price surge post ETF. I think that's mainly because the money or interest in Bitcoin are now able to invest in the spot ETF. So there's a lot of inflow we observed that drives the demand side up. But halving is actually influencing the supply side. So what it does, it cuts the supply in half, the new Bitcoin supply. But each halving is actually, the impact is actually smaller than the previous one because the supply of Bitcoin is fixed. There's only 21 million of them. So each halving means that there will be less and less new productions. The total amount of circulating Bitcoin will be converging to 21 million in a non-linear curve. That means the impact from the supply side will actually be less and less because the total Bitcoin that has been circulating has been mostly being mined.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you do see some people out there and they're sort of saying like, okay, so we've got this huge influx of demand, as you were saying with the ETF. At the same time, we're reducing the amount of Bitcoin supplied by half. And then there's plenty of people out there doing the maths on like how many Bitcoin are being like, gobbled up by the ETFs. And it's already more than the supply was before the halving. So they're sort of saying, well, maybe there's going to be a supply crunch. Do you think that's possible?
I don't think it's possible because, the halving, the Bitcoin halving only impacts the new supply into the Bitcoin blockchain or the Bitcoin ecosystem. But the existing Bitcoin, they will not be reduced. The already circulating market cap will be there, but the new supply will be cut in half. But the amount of new supply is only a fraction of the existing circulating Bitcoin. So the supply crunch, I don't think will be happening.
Right, for sure. So essentially, the people that want to come in, like the ETFs, and get new Bitcoin, they are kind of relying on the old school hodlers to sell.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. Right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so guys, I'm interested in what you think. What would your sell price for Bitcoin be? Are you a long-term hodler? What would you sell your Bitcoin at? Give us some info in the chats, and we'll take a look. So yeah, Willis, over to you. What do you think about the halving and supplies and impacts on Bitcoin?
I think it's hugely significant. I think it's significant if you look at it the interest is around two main areas. There's the narrative side of things, and then there's the price action side of things. On the narrative side, we've kind of got this interesting scenario where we have two huge narratives of crypto that have been really bumbling along for years, but have peaked in the last 6 months or so, with Bitcoin ETF and Bitcoin halving, and they're looking to run their course. And crypto price action is driven by narrative. So it's about what's next and where we think the next narrative is coming. In terms of price action, it's interesting because we're in a pretty sophisticated market now. As was mentioned earlier, the price impacts of each halving has been less and less as we've gone along. And so to think that this isn't already priced in, I think would be slightly naive. This is definitely priced in. I'm not expecting any significant volatility or fireworks in the next 24 hours, for example. But if you look at halving to peak over the previous 3 halvings, the time frame is actually quite considerable. So the first time, I think it was something like 5 months. Then we had 15 months, and then 10 months until from the halving to the next peak. And so, whilst I don't think there'll be anything significant in the next 24 hours, let's say, in the immediate aftermath of halving, I think it will be particularly interesting for the next 6 to 18 months.
Yeah, absolutely. So it seems that maybe any impact from the halving will probably be felt over sort of a slightly longer time frame. So we're not expecting it to sort of like be an immediate shock, right?
Absolutely.
That's kind of what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what do you think about the current bull run? So you've mentioned that the ETFs have been like quite a sort of big deal, but like what else are you seeing? Hal, maybe you could start on that.
I mean, definitely the volatility of the entire crypto markets is actually diminishing. We're experiencing less and less volatility. over a longer time period. Even now, we're still seeing a lot of liquidations or volatile price actions right now. But given the longer horizon, the volatility of market is actually diminishing. That means the market is maturing. Meaning, I think we are in a stage that the crypto assets will becoming more and more main stage. The market will become less volatile, but definitely there will be still opportunities for normal people, retails, both as well as institutions, to still co-build and invest in this ecosystem. The opportunity is still abundant, but will be less volatile, more mature.
Absolutely. Spoken like a true options trader, focused on the volatility. I love it. So we've got a few comments coming in. Met says hodl forever, like that. So if we have more of those, maybe we will see a supply crunch. When Lambo says, it's a good name, right? He says he'll liquidate his holding when Bitcoin touches 100K. Well, maybe you can get your Lambo if that's what happens. And someone who's just a string of numbers says, how many cryptocurrencies can we buy per page? I don't know. Hopefully a lot. And Monty, when can we expect crypto to take over USD? Well, I don't know about that. I feel like there's a few powerful people in the world that might have something to say about that.
Well,
so moving swiftly on.
Yes.
I think we're going to take over gold first then.
No, we don't. There's gold first. Yeah, good point. Lennox, what's your thoughts on the current bull run? What's unique about this bull run? What's
the unique one is the the participant is different. Yeah, just the whole mention is the volatility in the longer cycle is going to be diminished. But also the problem is the correlation with the macroeconomics going to be tighter. So probably I don't know whether or not Bitcoin will have independent correlation versus the traditional asset class in the longer term perspective. But at least in the shorter perspective, it look more like a risky alternate asset class. So the current bull run is mostly driven by, I think, a new type of participant, and also the positive sentiments before post-halving, before pre-halving.
Yeah, for sure. So you're kind of saying that it's like people are reacting to the news before it happens. It's like people are kind of front running a little bit more. Is that what you're saying?
It's actually historical proof that if you the Bitcoin kind of like bottom, I don't know, historical, like before 12 months or before halving.
Yeah.
So I think, but also we should remind that the impact of the halving is getting less and less. Market post-halving, after post-halving.
Okay, got it. So yes, definitely feeling the macro side. And Willis, what's your thought? What's unique about this current bull run?
So I mean, Wintermute's in a fortunate position where we have interactions across the entire crypto ecosystem. So it gives us a pretty unique viewpoint on what's happening. I think how we think about it is splitting retail flow and institutional flow. The retail side has been particularly interesting because post FTX, I think there was a feeling amongst the crypto community that lots of trading and transactions would move on chain. And the reality is it was much more proportion than people estimated. People moved back to more trusted, higher quality, centralized counterparties. And obviously these guys were huge benefactors of that. And we also saw a significant amount of flow move to some of the more like retail focused trading apps. These apps that had been offering traditional brokerage services before, that had crypto products, saw a massive increase in their crypto flow. And we're fortunate enough to be plugged into lots of those different retail apps. So that's particularly interesting on the retail side. On the institutional side, I think that options flow is very interesting to look at. If you follow skews and options over the last few months, they have been particularly insightful about preempting market sell-offs and market bounces. And I think that just shows the difference in the caliber of participants in this market. And it's much more of an institutional market that is more sophisticated, deploying more sophisticated strategies, but also better at reading the market as well.
Right, so you're seeing sort of more institutional flows kind of dominating, whereas maybe in previous bull runs it was more kind of retail.
It depends on the products, but in options market, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think the type of institutional is a bit different too.
Oh, I
So
see.
we have a wide range of institutional. Wintermute is obviously one of them, but we can see even more legacy type of TradFi player that's also directly engaging participants. That's never seen before.
Right, so you're basically saying what we've never seen before is so much traditional wealth and
Very
finance.
traditional, which have a legacy business in securities market or commodities trading background.
Right.
But right now they're all kind of like directly trading or interact with crypto.
So
that's unique.
What do you think attracts them to crypto? I mean, is it just the fact that crypto has the best returns, really?
Yeah, I think
it?
I think the risk profile might be different, and I think the best implication is they kind of like solve internally on the compliance issue, which means that they got internal approved that Bitcoin or perps or option derivatives is acceptable, even within their compliance standard, also the regulators.
Right. So
that's
sort of
very
absolutely. So more regulatory clarity, more familiarity with the asset is bringing the suits into the space. And so, yeah, let's welcome them, guys. Come on in, family offices, you old school guys, come in and join the fun. And you guys out there too. I want you to know that if you're watching this on the app, you might not be able to send your comments in. You're going to need to log into the web and look at the Bybit webpage, and that's where you can write your comments in. So keep the comments coming in. So we've got a question from Winter Soldier. What's your next trade? Does anyone want to reveal what your next trade is?
How is the best?
Let me rephrase. What would your next trade be?
I would love to hear how answer.
Yeah, what would you like to do?
I would buy Delta 10 options 100 times.
Right.
100 Bitcoin Delta 10 options.
You're buying Bitcoin options.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Calls?
Calls. Yes, OTM calls. Out of the money calls.
Okay. What's your price?
I don't know. Given current price, I mean,
I
maybe
think we should ask the date.
Price and dates. Good point. Yeah.
The date.
expiring in 1 month, maybe.
Ah, okay. So 1 month, and what sort of price? Like you're saying out of the money. So what, like 75? I mean, would you go over 80?
I think I would spend $40,000 buying one strike. I don't know which one, but I have to check.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we got some Bitcoin options from Hal there, and does anyone want to talk about the Hong Kong approval of the Bitcoin and ETH ETF? We've got a question also from Wen Lambo. So anyone got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, what do you think of that?
So I think the approval of ETF is also spot ETF, as in the US version. So previously, Hong Kong already got an ETF approved based on derivatives, based on CME derivatives.
So that's like a futures one?
So it's a spot ETF. Yeah. So right now they got approval on the spot ETF, which also prove two things. Is Bitcoin and Ethereum is kind of accepted and having a very precise legal definition under Hong Kong regulator perspective. And also Hong Kong is ready to custody physical Bitcoin Ethereum on site within Hong Kong shore under the regulatory framework in Hong Kong. And also the TradFi player, I mean the brokers, prime brokers, is also able to open and trade an accounts with a regular exchange in Hong Kong. So mostly on regulator perspective, which means the regulator kind of like endorse the development of crypto. And so but whether or not they can overcome the US, I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, sure. The market is quite a bit small.
Very small compared to the US.
Right. Do you think it could meaningfully change or put upward pressure on the Bitcoin price so that Mr. Wen Lambo might actually get a Lambo?
Very, very small impact at the moment. But because I think right now it's only still restricted in Hong Kong.
I mean, there's two main things that ETF approval does, and that's bring inflows into the ecosystem and into the asset class, and also give a regulatory institutional stamp of approval to lots of people in the space. And I think what we're seeing, and what I expect to see maybe from these Hong Kong ETFs, is not so much impact from the inflows, but more impact for this regulatory sample approval that it gives to the region. And that gives the green light to so many people sitting within traditional financial firms who need that in order to start becoming active.
Correct.
And I think that's the most significant thing.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like a stamp of approval, and
Absolutely.
it's like what you were saying, Lennox. That's what the institutional players, even if they're not buying the ETF, it gives them confidence to perhaps come into the space a little bit more, and that's what we're seeing.
It solves the last mile challenge for legacy family office, which manage a lot of money in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is one of the biggest AUM centers, wealth management centers. So it's solved the last mile challenge for them indirectly to allocate the petrol.
Absolutely, I think the reputational impact of that is very excellent. So yes, guys, also, if you're out there watching this online, check out the pop quiz. You could win 10,000 MFR tokens. So take the pop quiz, and also get your questions in. Top 5 questions win 100 USDT each. So let's take a look at leveraging derivatives and options. So Willis, do you want to sort of talk about how options might offer a certain dynamic to certain traders and how that's impacting the market?
Yeah, I mean, the way that I think about this is different products are suitable for different client types. We're fortunate, as I said, to interact with all the different institutional type counterparties at Wintermute. And I can give a very high level overview of how different entities or institutions use these types of products. So on the fund side, people are using options and derivatives for directional exposure and looking to do so in a leveraged or more sophisticated way. I think on the venture side, we see a lot of VCs maybe looking to generate yield on idle inventory or hedge upside that is yet to be realized in some of their earlier investments. On like the long short funds, we're seeing lots of those guys come into our CFD products, which is very similar to a perp, and look to go long or short a particular basket or individual tokens and try and pick outperformers, underperformers. And then really the big one for us that takes up a lot of our focus is on the treasury management side. So lots of the projects that we work with often require treasury management looking to generate some yield on their inventory. And they really do this in 2 main ways. Like very simply on the option side, it's selling covered calls and generating yield on their inventory. And then like more recently, we've seen teams looking to generate yield and take advantage of basis and funding rates and come into us and use our products to, in essence, buy spot, sell a CFD product, collect that funding and generate that income on an annualized basis in their underlying treasury. So it really depends who is using the products in terms of what they're using it for, but that's a bit of an overview of how we operate.
Right. Now you mentioned a basket of tokens, right?
Yep.
So I haven't really heard of that. Like what's going on there? Because it would be cool if there was like a basket, like, you know, even an ETF or something that covered a lot of crypto. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Kind of. So that's more touching on the index or entity side of things, which I'm very happy to go into, but I'm more talking that someone could come in systematically and give, let's say, 10 tokens they want to go short and 2 tokens they want to go long, and we can execute that trade for them. So it's those particular clients choosing those baskets themselves rather than a product being preset to allow that to take place. But yeah, index products are very interesting, very hot right now. Wintermute's actually incubated and recently launched a new index, crypto-native index provider called GMCI. And we're looking to work with lots of different exchanges to help, in essence, just provide the type of solution that you just mentioned.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, it'd be so good to offer that to people. We've got a couple of questions coming in, so keep them coming in, guys. You can win 100 USDT for your questions. So we've got a question from Ali, and he or she asks thoughts about trending tokens relating to cats. Maybe let's just generalize that to meme coins. So does anyone want to talk about meme coins?
I mean, meme coin will have its niche. It can be much more than a meme. What we observe with meme coin, it's a social movement, starting from Wall Street, occupying Wall Street and GameStop. What we also observe is that the meme coin is a way to get people together, and then it can be a force for good instead of just only a tool for speculation. We have a new initiative called Blockchain for Good, which maybe, coming together and gather around people and use the social movement to really inspire, to move people around. Maybe we have a charity running. For example, if we want to do a fundraising, then perhaps we can link it to a meme coin that's naturally like inspiring and easy for people to understand and naturally gathering people together. And then it can move people together to really to be a force for good. If you want to raise a charity fund for cancer or for helping kittens, that's obviously a natural link that we can use to connect meme coins with social welfare and other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I should also mention that Bybit is listing some of the best meme coins. Bybit is listing them very fast, within 24 hours, some of them. So do keep an eye out on our listings, because we're going to be bringing you the best meme coins for your portfolio. And it's interesting you mentioned the Occupy Wall Street connection, because I sort of see it also similarly, where it reminds me a little bit of punk rock. Do you know what I mean? Like in the 70s, when punk music came out, they were kind of like against the system in a way, and they were doing it on the cheap, if you like, and throwing it up, but also making a comment. And I feel like some of the better meme coins do that. Willis, what do you think?
I mean, as long as meme coins are fully transparent and operating, I have absolutely no issue with them at all. In fact, I think the fact that some of them are so transparent make it very clear that there's no intrinsic value in the underlying token, but it is a social movement, and if you want to be part of that social movement, you can buy in and be a part of it. And actually, I think, what, people want to do that. There's lots of examples outside crypto where people do that, and there's various justification for it, but it's just the way human nature works. I'm all for crypto facilitating that. Where I have an issue is maybe if it's not so transparent at the outset, different teams doing different things, but obviously Bybit, OKX, you guys are verifying all the meme coins that you list on exchanges, and we like to think that there is that element of transparency. And as long as that's in place, I have no issue with them.
Absolutely. So come to Bybit, and we're going to be vetting those meme coins as well. So we make sure it's quality and fast listings. Lennox, what about you? Do you have any thoughts on this?
It's always a puzzle to me in terms of meme coin, because I educate from a financial modeling background, so we sure which meme coin has zero. But I starting to think that memes is kind of like a collective, a very unique kind of consensus, collectively shared by mass public and retails and collectively perceived in certain period of time by general public. So if there's a consensus, that's something you can trade, right? Consensus also means that people have kind of like a intangible value to certain asset. So if that's the truth, so probably, not every meme coin means successful. Meme is easy to create, but it's very difficult to create and collectively get consensus. So successful means also liquidity, means also collectively perceived by a large group of people.
Yeah.
So exchange to list, and people should trade.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Liquidity is very important when trading meme coins. You've got to check that out, right? Yeah. Someone else also, it was, Ka says, any thoughts on RWA's narrative? So that's real world assets and global asset managers. So, I mean, I guess what they're saying is global asset managers are going to be tokenizing assets, I imagine. So does anyone have any thoughts on that? Hal, what do you think?
We're also experimenting with tokenizing real world assets, but maybe not directly, trying to tokenize your houses or your Lambo, but starting with, collaborating with existing establishments. I see that people are trying to tokenize the shares of their funds. I think that's a good endeavor and the starting point to bring more connection to crypto, like the link between traditional finance and the crypto. That's the last mile before crypto can be a real financial system that link to the real world economy. I don't think it will be a big trend for the next few years. More and more real assets will be on chain. That's gonna be something that I would like to bet big on.
Yeah, so more and more real world assets coming on chain. Yes. So let's go to the next segment in the program. So we're looking into innovation on centralized exchanges and the offerings that they're putting out, products, services, trading pairs. Lennox, do you have any thoughts on this?
I think the exchange product is pretty much relatively stable right now. We build spot markets, spot with margin markets, the derivatives market, futures, perps, and also option markets. In terms of category product, it's actually pretty much stable. What we can optimize and innovate mostly is consistently optimize the latency of the system, the responses of the resilience of the system, and also continuous optimize the margin capitalization across all the products, and also consistently optimize the risk engine to tailor-make the latest market and latest product category. And also on the longer perspective, I think the exchange, the central exchange, just trying with the time that's whether or not in certain modules that we can migrate on chain, or at least interoperable between on chain product and centralized exchange. That would be interesting, and we need to solve and tackle a lot of technological challenge in order to fulfill the standard that central exchange is currently operating.
Right. So you see, like, the future being centralized exchanges sort of merging more with an on-chain.
I think the line will be blurred.
Right.
So eventually, the traders or user might not necessarily need to identify whether it's a SAX or DAX. They're probably trading in a centralized order book, but also having margin and lockup custody, in a self-custody wallet.
I see. Got it. Okay.
And also make an on-chain order book too, probably.
Right. So yeah, definitely sort of seeing like a kind of convergence there, for sure. Hal, what do you think?
Well, in terms of product innovation, I think they should be built on the reliability of a centralized exchange system. The most important thing as a CEX is just two most important things is the reliability of the matching engine. When a trade goes in, you have to make sure that it goes out correctly and is scalable, meaning we can be able to support 10 times or 100 times the current volume and ensure that nothing goes wrong. And secondly is the clearing and settlement. We're going to ensure that every trade is matched against each other, and the settlement risk robust, is able to clear all the trades that goes in. And based on that, there'll be more structured products. There'll be people who built on top of this centralized exchange system. Our collaborators, Wintermute, and others will be able to help their clients with respect to constructing more interesting products. For example, what we just mentioned, the indexes products, that's all based on the robustness of centralized exchange system.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it sounds like you're saying that the kind of more complex and structured products that you're talking about, they require like the high speed tech of a centralized exchange, and maybe decentralized exchanges aren't quite there yet. Is that kind of where you're at?
We see that the DEX is catching up in terms of reliability, robustness, but still they're not as sophisticated as CEXs. No, not there yet.
Absolutely. Willis, what do you think? Centralized exchanges, new offerings, products, services, what do you see sort of evolving?
I mean, so the way that we think about it as a liquidity provider is we'll let these guys innovate the products, and then we'll be there to provide liquidity as soon as it's live on day one. And so there's often some kind of collaboration, but it's really up for the innovation sits with the centralized exchanges. I mean, the one thing that I would say is tap back into what I mentioned earlier, and Hal just mentioned about the index products. I was actually looking at the potential influence that a well-traded index product could have. And if you go back a few years in TradFi rather than crypto, there was a point when MSCI, a massive TradFi index provider, increased the weighting of China or China A share stocks within their emerging markets index. And foreign investment in Chinese equities went from, I think it was about 40 billion in 2016 to 200 billion in 2019. Now, clearly there were some other factors at play there. but it does show that when you do have index products trading at large and people using them, they can have a huge influence depending on their weighting of what they're allocating or what's being allocated to each token. So I think that will be something that we see more and more of going forward. But aside from that, we are just focused on the liquidity provision side of things.
Okay, great. So yeah, guys, remember, if you can watch this on your mobile app or on the website. And if you're on the website, you can ask questions, top 5 questions, 100 USDT prize for you, and take our pop quiz and win 10,000 EMFA tokens. And do get those comments in, like and share. We've got a lot of questions coming through. So here's some interesting ones. So if one person, Willem, he asks, how do you protect yourself against orchestrated dumps? So maybe if you're not exposing yourself to that kind of risk, perhaps we might be able to sort of, you mentioned with meme coins, Willis, right, that you need to vet them and make sure that the liquidity is there and their quality. So maybe we can think about how do you sort of find meme coins that are reputable or are able to see that they're okay.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. The only approach is really to take an extended period of time speaking, doing your due diligence with the team who've set this up, and that's the only way to really go about it. It's such a different token or asset class compared to anything else that we've had prior that you can't apply usual due diligence methods to this. So we just speak to the team for an extended period of time and try and understand the project as much as possible. And obviously there's some checks and balances that we do. But generally, I think crypto markets, at least the crypto markets in which we operate, are now at a point where there is sufficient liquidity and sufficient sophistication that we're seeing less and less of these bad actors looking to dump tokens.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's all about research and talking to the team directly.
Correct.
Yeah, got it. So, moving on to another segment. So we're looking at global market integration and collaborations and partnerships for sustainable growth. So let's see, Hal, do you have any comments on the sort of global market integration side of things?
I mean, I always thought that the last link for real mature crypto ecosystem is to bond with the real world economy. And as I mentioned previously about RWA's real world assets, we are already seeing that the linkage between crypto ecosystem and traditional finance is getting closer and closer, and they are converging into the same direction. And once we started tokenizing other stuff, and then once they started floating on chain, I see this will be a efficiency improvement to the old system. Clearing and settlement will be so efficient that there's a lot of middlemen can be obsolete once the thing are all settled on chain. T+1 settlement, T+2 settlement. No, it's not necessary anymore. When you're done a trade, when it's on chain, it directly settles from A to B. That is clearly the advantage and the innovation that crypto ecosystem can offer. And once people starting moving into this direction, and then the ecosystem of crypto can grow beyond a store of value, grow beyond currently a more retail focused social movement towards a real financial markets that's on parallel with the existing system.
I mean, do you think the public blockchains are sort of ready to handle that kind of traffic?
I think there are innovations and endeavors. We're moving to that direction, layer 2s, knowing the system and the limitations of layer 1 blockchains, the bottlenecks, the threshold. We're fixing it actively. The entire ecosystem is working towards fixing the infrastructure problem.
So, so we're getting there with some layer 2 optimization.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Absolutely. Lennox, what do you think about the sort of global market integration?
Global market integration.
Yeah,
I think so. If you're talking about crypto become one of the mainstream asset class that's trading or leveraging up within the balance sheets of within one of the balance sheet item within TradFi, it's already happening. So that part, in terms of the definitions of what is crypto, is already happening. I'm not surprising seeing bank within the balance sheet without crypto anytime soon. The trading infrastructure also integrating, means settlement network, trading exchanges, custody is also integrating. So if crypto, I mean Bitcoin and Ethereum, is going to become one of the look like a commodities alike product in real world assets, I would strongly hope that Bitcoin stay relatively independently versus global inflations or GDP or any other macroeconomic factors, because they uniquely designed as this work independently. So that so investor or trader we have alternatives and options that to allocate versus crypto and commodities and all the other asset classes.
Yeah. So do you think that today's the day that the Runes token standard is launching on Bitcoin? We've obviously had ordinals and a lot of Bitcoin L2s are being funded.
Yep.
Do you think that has any threat to Bitcoin as a sort of store of value? Because some people would say we'd rather it was just a pure store of value. We can.
Oh, that's Bitcoin Maxi opinion.
Right.
I don't know. I think the Bitcoin Maxi has its point, meaning that we have to stay pure and stay as the digital gold to commodities in terms of perception, but also you cannot stop the innovations and you cannot stop whether or not people can somehow find a way to extend the ecosystem of Bitcoin. It's actually probably is better in a longer term development of Bitcoin ecosystem and also the sustainability of the miners.
Yeah. So it's good for the long-term sustainability of Bitcoin, right? Because it gives an extra revenue stream for the miners, right?
I think in terms, we have different stakeholders in terms of Bitcoin, in terms of ecosystem. We have the user, the miners, so we have the Bitcoin dev, Bitcoin core. And everyone, I don't think everyone would have the confidence or would have to say that we're going to change the narratives of basic Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But whether or not we can add different kind of utilities by layer 2 or by ordinals or by different kind of technology, I think it's okay. I think it's okay as long as we don't change substantially of the basic narratives of Bitcoin.
Absolutely. Cool. Good stuff. So Willis, global market integration, what are you guys seeing from the liquidity provider side?
Something I think is hugely important is growth of stablecoins. We're seeing more and more different variants of stablecoins. Some linked to underlying money market funds, yield-bearing stablecoins, some linked to basis trades, some linked to all different underlying products. And that, from an integrations perspective, I think will be crucially important. Also become even more important as these things are gradually approved to be used as collateral on the exchanges. From a collaborations perspective, I think obviously liquidity providers and exchanges just need to work really closely going forward to ensure that markets are fair, markets are liquid, and that traders and users have the best experience possible when accessing these markets and trading on these markets.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So it's all about sort of the partnership between liquidity providers and exchanges, and as time goes on, maybe even some of the decentralized protocols as well, so it can sort of become a bit more seamless.
Absolutely, that's crucially important.
Great. Okay, guys. So we're sort of coming towards the last few minutes of the live stream. So let's go over to your questions. Okay. So you still got time to get your questions in. If you the top 5 questions win 100 USDT. And if you take our pop quiz, you'll see it on the page, you could win 10,000 EMFA tokens. So make sure you do that. And if you're watching on the app, you might need to pop over to the website to do those things. Okay, so a few questions, guys. We're just going to sort of do a few quick fire. How will Bybit add binary options at any point?
No.
Okay. Next question. Manti says, if the halving was not pre-coded, what would have happened today? Does that make sense?
I mean, nothing would have happened.
No.
It is pre-coded, and there's a consensus.
It's part of the design, but
Yes,
Yeah.
that's part of the Bitcoin.
it's part of Bitcoin. It's not pre-coded, which means that's not included in the design, which means that the Bitcoin, I don't know, the inflation of Bitcoin
Nothing
going to
happens
be,
if it's not.
yeah,
It's not pre-calculated, it's not Bitcoin.
yeah.
It's
Good point.
It's like a square circle or something. You can't have it without the halving.
Yeah, you cannot. Yes, you cannot have a square circle.
All right, got it. So yeah, like, is there a particular trading bot or style of trading bot that you think might be useful for people to use in this bull run? I know that we've, you know, both Bybit and OKX have a few different types. Do you guys have any that you think might be quite good for a general user?
It's in the ring trading markets, look like Gridboard is easier to understand and use it and write. Yeah.
Sorry, which one?
The grid.
Oh, yeah.
Gridboard.
Yeah.
Gridboard.
Is there any particular pairs that you think might be good?
BTC, Ethereum, like the one with the most liquidity over there.
I think so.
Okay, so BTC, ETH, Gridbot. I mean, that's good because whatever happens, you're going to end up with BTC or ETH, right? So that's
you
not
should
too
think
bad.
about the risk of Gridboard is actually breaching the boundary. That's how you might. That's one of the risks of using Gridboard. But so if there's a market, if the token with less liquidity is actually much more volatile, so the parameters of the grid might not easily to adjust to latest market situations. So in terms of Bitcoin and Ethereum is easier.
Right. Okay.
Much
So
more sense.
right. So the most liquid tokens are going to be the best ones to look at
I want to
for
add
your
on
grid
that
bots.
point. For the aspiring juniors, please run the grain bot because that's how a market maker actually does.
Oh, so Wintermute, you like the grid bots too?
I mean, that's definitely not our bot. I wouldn't associate it with Wintermute whatsoever, but it's worth understanding how these things operate, especially if you want to work in a market maker in the future. You need to understand how these things work.
Yes, that's basically gives you an idea of what those guys are.
Okay, right. So yes, so we've sort of talked a little bit about the volatility that might come in. I mean, one person, Sir, says, how can centralized exchanges innovate? What new offerings do you expect? Maybe Willis, you work with a lot of centralized exchanges and decentralized entities. I mean, what would you like to see your sort of clients bringing online?
I mean,
Cheaper fees.
cheaper fees, yeah, that'd be nice. I mean, ultimately, we're just looking for new exciting markets, and so we just want all the latest and greatest tokens to be listed as timely as possible, whether that's meme coins, whether that's big layer one multi-billion-dollar FTP tokens. That would be something that would be ideal, and to make sure that during that listing period, all the exchanges were aligned in terms of the timing and tick size and things like that would certainly make our lives easier. But in terms of actual products, these guys are probably best place to answer.
What about you, Hal? What sort of products do you think like CXs might offer in the future?
As I mentioned, there's the fundamental goal or fundamental work of a CX is to provide the most robust system to ensure that trade can happen smoothly. But on top of that, the product that helps people to earn yield, the structured products built on top of centralized exchange system. For example, a covered call strategy that sells call by the underlying, that kind of structured products that helps the people to get the desired structures of their payoff. That's something that we can innovate on to create more on top of that, to customize, to tailor make some structured products for customers.
Yeah, for sure. So it's about structured products. So you guys on the online, you can go and check out Bybit structured products. So they take quite complex strategies, more sort of professional style strategies, and simplify them, right? That's the idea, right? Yeah, so there's ways to protect your perpetual positions, and there's a double win, I think is one.
Yeah.
So that's like if it closes above or below a certain price, you make a return. So yeah, Lennox, what do you think about CXs and products innovations coming up?
The future development of CX always venture to look like more like getting more close to the decentralized ecosystem on the one hand, and also solving the last mile challenge in TradFind. So the role of CX should be blurring these two friction to pure native crypto and also traditional finance.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
pretty good.
Yeah, I think that would be great because, you know, like I started investing in crypto before TradFi investments, and
Yes.
waiting 24 hours or more for
Yep.
clearance is just mind blowing.
Yep.
How you can live like that. I don't know.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so we've got time for one more question. And I think what about airdrops? You know, that's been like quite a sort of strong driver in terms of like a wealth effect in this bull market. I mean, you could even credit some of Solana's massive run up with the success of the Jito airdrop. So, Willis, what do you see from your perspective, like, and airdrops and the role of them in this market environment?
So we obviously work very closely with a number of projects to help them with trading on day one and providing liquidity across all of the decentralized or centralized and sometimes decentralized exchanges. We're clearly in conversations with those projects for quite a while in the run up there. We can see that airdrops has been such a popular way in terms of generating a user base, in terms of generating like marketing content. You mentioned Jito there, like so many people have taken that model and tried to essentially replicate it because it was so successful in how it did. So from our perspective, we're less concerned about how the actual airdrop happens, when it takes place, whether it's the right thing to do. We're just there to help support liquidity on day one for these tokens on listings. And the fact is that having a successful airdrop tends to directly correlate to greater liquidity, greater interest, greater hype, and maybe potentially a higher FDV on day one listing.
Absolutely. So it looks like it's been a very successful strategy, this bull run. So yeah, you guys got any thoughts on the airdrops and the role they've played in this bull run? Lennox, what do you think?
I don't know. From my perspective, we just want to build the best products. Whether or not we can help the user to get the latest information in the airdrop, and whether or not they can convincingly, effectively collecting the airdrops in basically one-click button. And also, we have responsibility of the additions of the project, whether or not it's a legit project for it. Airdrop is a great strategy for expansion of the market, and I'm sure it's going to be consistently one of the growth too for all different kind of projects. But timing in airdrop, or where now you can prevent different kind of whistle attack whatsoever. From a perspective, it's always a technological and product challenge. I think from my perspective, we should think long-term perspective whether or not we can solve these two major challenges within airdrop space.
So what would be the long-term challenge?
Long-term challenge, we need to kind of answer the question is how the user can effectively find the airdrop, and also how to value the users in terms of what kind of user behavior to the special clients and sizing airdrops. So that's a balance between the frequency of distribution of the airdrop and also the user behavior. Whether or not we're successfully in CX and audit as a role, it's audit in the user. Whether or not you can really incentivize the user and also get an appropriate amount of airdrops, as long as also changing their risk.
Okay, right. So we're making sure that users get the appropriate amount. There's a lot of mechanics that have to be sort of figured out.
I think questions.
Yeah. How? What do you think about that?
Airdrops mostly happen on chain, but once people started putting the majority of their money in the CXs, they will be missing out on the decentralized ecosystem airdrops. So maybe we can try to bridge the gap between CX and DX or decentralized ecosystem. So what CX can do is to be a gateway to onboard people and then help them to explore and experiment with the bigger decentralized ecosystem.
Okay, great. So yes, the top 5 questions, the top 5 winners, you get 100 USDT each. So we have we've answered the questions. So we have I'm going to say huge. And is there a trading bot that is capable of riding the bull run? We answered that. You got 100 USDT. Next up, how do you see the impact of BTC bulls on the ETF value growth? Does anyone want to take that? The value of BTC balls. Okay, you get 100 USDT. And how to protect yourself against orchestrated dumps. We answered that, 100 USDT to you, Willem. And Met, you get 100 USDT for your question. How do you expect high volatility after the halving? And lastly, Sir, how can CXs innovate? 100 USDT going to you. So everybody online, thanks so much for joining us on this live stream. And I would love to thank so much Lennox Live, OKX for coming and joining us. Hao Yang, Bybit, lovely to see you. And Willis from Wintermute, thanks so much for coming in, guys.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Bye.